Hey guys, it's Tammy. Thanks for joining me today. Um, I didn't want to be remiss and not even acknowledge what's currently going on in our country. Yes, we're still in COVID days of 2020, but um, there is this thing around George Floyd uh, that again, like I said, I don't want to go without acknowledging what's happening in our country as a result of this, and it actually kind of plays into real things that I've realized along the way through my own studies. So if you're new and never have heard anything I've said before, I am a master clinical aromatherapist. I have a background in pharmacology, and I specialize in plant constituents and in relation to drug development and their impact on human physiology, which is important in this regard. Even though I'm talking about, like I said, George Floyd, I am talking about inflammation. Now, emotions are very interesting, to say the least. Yeah, they're an interesting animal. Um, but there's a few things here. The first thing that's really present is that I remember briefly seeing somebody say something about George, and they referred to him as a gentle giant. Well, I can tell you straight up, if that's the kind of man he was, then what's currently going on around our country is something that he wouldn't advocate for. And I'm talking about the rioting and the fires and so forth. I'm not saying not to be upset and stand for justice. Okay, I'm not suggesting that. It is time to change our systems. I was writing or finishing up a blog yesterday on when, why, and how to block estrogen. And that link is in the description box. But in that, I shared the fact that for as much as we want to think we're in control of our external world, we're just not. The only thing we have control over is the way we respond to anything. I've said this in many videos, in order to rise above any inflammatory reaction in the body, we have to be willing to tell our body. This is the reason why I did a video the other day about breathing, is begin to let the DNA know when it needs to. I mean, it's like we're working in tandem here, okay? But let's face it, we're not in control of nature. The nature of nature is, in fact, it has the final say. I just, I've been making jokes with people about we keep wanting to be, we think, we are the master, of our own house, but yet, we still, the animals, our pets will let us know when they want to go in and out. They'll let us know when they want to eat, and we jump too. So the mastery portion of our existence is totally an illusion. So when it comes to life, this is a realization that I've taken on, but not based on any meme I've seen anywhere on social media, or for that matter, anything anybody's ever told me about just get a hold of your thoughts. It actually took me getting into the nature of nature. It really took me studying plant constituents and human physiology in order to recognize the fact that we ultimately do not have any say. The reason why I look the way I do and you look the way you do, and the reason why there is even slight differentiations between siblings is the fact that the DNA of our of the sperm, I'm trying to think of the cells, the sperm and the eggs that actually created us, adjusted themselves prior to ever meeting, prior to conception. Okay, this is the reason why there's differences, because the DNA changes as it is informed. You may be wondering what informs it. Well, there's a whole host of things that informs the DNA. Light will modify genetic expression down to man-made chemicals. So there's a lot of factors that are involved, and we have no say over how the DNA is going to respond. The interesting thing is our current context is that there's something wrong with the DNA. You can look up, damaged DNA. There's all kinds of things out there. But the fact is that the DNA has the ability to alter itself in response to the environment, to the information coming in. Now, this is where it becomes really cool to be human, because we have awareness. I didn't say mind, I said awareness. We have this ability to recognize when something truly is a threat and endangering our lives, versus something that's just completely made up and a fear around, oh my God, what am I going to do next? And it's that inflammatory reaction that is bringing on all this degenerative disease, because it's going on 24/7 and it's not meant to be 24/7. And now we're seeing it in our behavior. May happens to be Mental Health Month, right? I am very, very big on mental health. And it's interesting to me that we're seeing such explosive behavior going on. And and this is a stress response, okay? It is how we survive. And I am right there with everybody when it comes to, I've cried for days in the privacy of my own home over even seeing that video and looking at that man's face, meaning the cop, and just feeling so puzzled and baffled by who would do something like that, and why could he smugly just look at the camera, knowing full well how I would have reacted had I been on the scene, and hearing the things that have come out of my mouth. So there is something to be said for, our survival is being endangered by by the horseshit, okay? It's being endangered by these abusive people. But this is all a reflection of everything, okay? So our reactions are a reflection, basically are telling us what's going on in the environment. As the environment is affecting us, and it's causing shifts within our system, and it's causing us to react in certain ways. We're seeing inflammation happening in our bodies. We're acting in inflammatory ways outside of us. And the interesting thing is, life is going to be what it is. We're consistently just here. We're just going through experiences. It's not about good or bad. We have no control over these experiences because there's other factors involved. Okay? That's the reason why I say it is as it is. Now, the DNA doesn't judge man-made chemicals as, ooh, bad. It just rolls with it. Okay? And of course, that consistent rolling with man-made chemicals leads to degenerative issues. Again, this is where we have that ability to go, well, wait a minute, I can intercede here. There's something else we can do to modify that communication and improve the DNA's response to it, as opposed to having it be so reactionary. This is where essential oils come in, because they, like light man-made chemicals and other chemicals, including medications, have the ability to modify genetic expression. That's significant. The more we start taking steps at this level for ourselves, okay, there's something to be said for be the peace you want to see. And all of this has to happen at the same time, right? Because, we don't have time for everybody to sit around sing kumbaya and get their shit together and, go back out in the world and recreate the new world. We actually have to be more mindful of this. We have to be willing to go, okay, George is the last straw. We're done with this. Pardon me. Excuse me just a moment. We have to be willing to say that we've got to put an end to this. And as I said earlier, systems have to change. The sad truth is that this particular cop has a history. He shouldn't even been on the force. But think about this: the more we burn things down, the more we attack people, the more inflammatory it becomes. There becomes this vindictive nature. And I guess I'm very sensitive to this right now because I'm currently in a situation where there's a lot of vindictive nonsense, and I just keep hoping, that there's going to be some sort of resolution. And what I know that the only way to adjust that viciousness, and please, before I go any further, please know I'm safe. Okay, this isn't. It's not like I'm in a horrible domestic situation. It's not. It's actually my dad. He's just he's going to be 83 in a few weeks, and there's just a lot of stuff, mental health wise, that he's kind of stuck in. So, like I said, just know that I am perfectly safe. It's just that when that stuff starts to come up, the only thing I have available in that moment is how I control myself, how I control my emotions, noticing the emotions that come up. Because this is what I wanted. This is really the whole point of this. Is life is as it is. We are handed these experiences. We go through these experiences because we're just we're I don't want to call us drifters, but we're going through life. We're taking it as it comes, and as much as we want to try to control how it goes, the fact is that there's. I mean, my one of my kids always says, my son's, he's not a kid anymore, always says, I just wish things would let up. I'm like, this is life, man. This is life. It's going to come at you. It's just everything. Because I mean, unless you live in a bubble and you have nothing to do with anybody or anything else, you're going to have the influence of other or be impacted by other people and other situations. And we don't have any control over that, right? For as much as we want to. So the next option is to determine, are we going to let that control our emotions? Are we actually going to look at our emotions and understand that we have choices in how we want to respond? Recognizing that, yeah, when I'm listening to that vindictive shit, it makes me angry. It hurts. So I do what I have to do to take care of myself. Oftentimes it's excusing myself. I go do something to read. I go put on my oils. I do something to get myself back to be able to dispel that. That's by taking control of how I react instead of being explosive about it and retaliating and voicing my human opinions. I just maintain my composure. And like I said, I have really come to see this through my studies, investigations at the nature of nature. I mean, it just really doesn't have, there's, and to me, that's the magical part of our existence, is that even though we have this powerhouse of an influence force, which is the DNA or the, consciousness DNA, we still have that. We're still tapped into a higher consciousness and have that ability to see something, that awareness, when I say see, to do something that actually offers protection and strength as opposed to breakdown and degeneration. I don't know if any of this is making any sense, because the way I see this translating is that the more that we actually do this with ourselves, the more we actually take a break, give ourselves the opportunity to kind of rise above and be in that space of noticing, and then without judgment about how we feel, and even noticing how we feel, those emotions that come out, and choosing the emotion, choosing how we want to handle this. And sometimes that means, like, when you get a situation, you got to walk away. You got to just stop. When it comes to this outrage that I feel like everybody feels, I believe, with regards to George Floyd, we've got to put an end to it. But gaining our composure, because that's what's really going to make our voices powerful. When you're standing out there shrieking and screaming and, waving, and setting fires, your voice isn't powerful any longer. But if we want to have a powerful voice, whether it be to our own body or to the outside world, we have to be willing to maintain our composure and actually realize that this is happening. This happened. I've done this, I have talked about madness, right? I wrote about it, support your madness with essential oils. So I'm going to share mine right now. And this is really all mine. But the fact is that I don't think anything is a mistake. For as traumatic as it was for all of us to watch that or as tragic as that is, this last week, I'm of the belief that George did this for us. And I don't, like I said in the beginning, I don't believe that he wants us to handle it this way, being the gentle giant that he is. I believe he did this for us to start getting a grip and finding a different way, because all we're doing is repeating old behaviors, and all we're doing is drumming up old feelings, and all we're doing is inciting riots, and we're just perpetuating the bullshit. If we don't want bullshit in our lives any longer, then we have to stop the bullshit within ourselves. And the bullshit is the way we react to something. There's a difference between being empowered versus power. It's like that love of power versus the power of love. Okay? Keep in mind, love is not, me sending you a little note. That's not love. I mean, that is love, but that's not what when I'm talking about love here, I'm talking about love for man, love for George, love for the health and wellness of our planet, of our bodies. What are we going to do in that space of love? Now that's power. When you have that, when you're, and I see this, but there's a tipping point. And all I'm saying is that what we want to generate is justice. And, we want to generate fairness. And we want to generate, well, I guess just justice is the word that keeps coming to mind. And we want to eliminate these people, get rid of the people that are going to cause us harm. We've got to come at it from a powerful position, but not trying to, not be, there's a difference between being empowered and overpowering. There's systems in place that we can utilize, just like when I work with health. Okay, there's a conventional model and there's the natural model, and the two worlds have to come together. They have to, for the sake of our well-being. Again, because conventional model seeks to control the human body. The natural, well, doesn't necessarily, it supports, but we're using it as a means of control. And so learning how to integrate the two for a well-rounded outcome is really what I'm here. And I just see this, in the way we interact with one another. And that just came to a full head, full blown, just like, wow, it's in our face at this point. And so, yes, I'm right there with all of you on the sidelines and in the mix of all of it, wanting to make a difference in this world, because this nonsense has to stop. But are we going to do it from a place of empowerment? And this is when we're empowered, is when we can see a situation, we can feel those emotions. That's what means you're human, okay? That's what means you're alive. It's like you have this ability, but don't let that be your driving force, because oftentimes we're angry and we're afraid that this is never going to stop. What if we came from love and says, no, this is going to stop? Empowered versus overpowering. That's really what I'm getting down to here. And we can do that with the body. We can do that with the world. And I know that that's George's message, because look what happened. Look how he lost his life by being overpowered. And his message is for all of us to find a way to be empowered and put an end to the madness, that type of madness. I don't even like to use that word in the same video, because I kind of like the idea of each one of us having our own unique message, but not, I don't want to use madness, it's insanity. That cop did was just vile, so yeah. So it's to put an end to the vile, vicious, vindictive, and any other word that you can think of after that is happening on a large scale these days. That's his message. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and I really hope I didn't offend anybody by any of this. It's just, kind of stream of consciousness talking here. But the fact is like, I really feel like George has got a message for us, as does Mother Nature. And it is about empowering wellness. Wellness is a state of mind. Wellness is a state of being. And when you come at something through wellness, the outcome is entirely different, and solutions make themselves known. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you later.